I just got to get your reactions quickly, Kenobi. Based on what we've seen so far, pros and cons when it comes to the map style of Assault.
I think the pros for it's going to be really good. Actually, I want to see Novus play Eclipse on Ana more because Ana, you have these sight lines and you have these abilities to hit these huge anti-nades from a range. And unfortunately for the side of Out of My Games, Tools isn't really eating the anti-nades as much as I'd like him to. They're so important to be eaten because if those anti-nades are hitting 5-6 people like we've been seeing, it's very detrimental for the side of Out of My Game.
Indeed, indeed. As we get back into it, we'll take a look to see Out of My Game will be on defense first. And it looks like they're setting up the double sniper setup. I like to see it personally. You gotta love the PogChamp snipes coming out and potentially way fast than Olu. Again, Olu, one of the more recent additions out of that Falafels team that did finish second in the Open Division. A lot riding on how he plays this Hanzo here.
And Wayfast going back to his signature Widow. I remember seeing Wayfast play Widow back in the day, and his Widow is actually very clean. I'm going to be interested to see if Novus is going to try and take the 1v1, or if they're just going to run a full dive here to try and just jump on him. Tracer Sombra has been seeing a lot more play lately.
Indeed, and Luft will be taking out a spawn of the Widow as well, so a little bit of a matchup, and I see your face. Are you looking at Molfig being the solo diva here?
Well, yeah, I think Luft just went to scout, maybe try and get one shot. He's going to go back onto the Winston. So this is more of what I'd like to see from them. I'm interested to see, it's interesting that they're going to be running Eclipse on the Moira instead of something like an Ana, maybe where you can try and, help the dive out when it goes in. But I think Obling and Big One, they're going to be the people I look out for the most. Are they going to be able to get onto the backline? Are they going to be able to make Wayfast uncomfortable? That's really what I need to see.
And you can see Obling just kind of biding his time patiently, waiting for the team to dive on in as the action is happening just over to his right-hand side perspectively. Progi, though, will just hit the high ground with Twills, and they'll try to jump onto the backline, but really quickly, same idea for Novus as they get all the way into Koss's face, and it will be one big Gorilla Paw into the face of Yana, and Wayfast finds one, though, so Twills able to pick out Luft. This is an opportunity as the res comes through for Koss.
Wayfast?
A second for Wayfast. How about that? We'll take those apples all day, and now looking for just the body shots, maybe even one more onto the Lucio, but that was enough of a play from Out of My Game with the res and the back end of some great snipes from Wayfast. How about a third for you, my fellow? That's a good defense from Out of My Game.
Yeah, Wayfast here really being the hero. Ooh, gets the dink, but doesn't get the kill, and he's just going to be able to get out of there very quickly. They are going to dive in. Progi's left is very, very deep here.
I like the play, though. Progi just all over the map at the moment, just going from left, right, center, inside, outside, upside down, why don't you? And that's going to be enough to allow now Olu to get involved. Look at all of those check marks flashing for Out of My Game on that defense. Great play, not only from the defense as far as the setup for the front line, of course, obviously the snipes, but Chalky Milk with the clutch revive as well to keep Out of My Game in the defense.
And Wayfast has been doing such a good job of spotting Tracer. That's the best thing, is every time that Dublin goes in, he's already at half or basically no health because of these headshots that he's hitting, and he has to force out recall, and then they're able to just dive on him, and now they know where he's going at all times. The dive comes in, but he's alone.
Looking to keep Mercy alive as Koss. He also has a boost. We'll throw a nice fire grenade and then also boost up, but I think the sleep dart on the big old Gorilla, again, the primal rage, not able to find any value whatsoever. But again, you look at Out of My Game. What can they find on the back end of that good play? They're able to take down one. Wayfast does drop. He was that key clutch player in their defense effort last time through. Molfig will get a self-destruct sequence off just before he gets D-Mac. So he will be able to get that mech right on back. Olu fighting himself too, and that might just be enough. You talk about Wayfast clutching the first time. How about Olu the second? Out of My Game should surely hold.
These double snipers are clutching out so hard right now, and they're going to probably get the D-Mech here. That's huge. Koss is going to go down, but it might not matter too much. Diana can get back, maybe switch to Lucio, and this actually might be a stagger as well. Out of My Game is doing such a good job of clutching out these fights that they somehow probably don't even have any business winning.
Gracious, a minute and 10 seconds now ticking away. No progress whatsoever, and Wayfast will be setting up a pretty hard angle, looking from left to right. We'll try to reposition now as Luft has got himself underneath that display area, just over to his left. Progi, though, will take down Eclipse, and that's going to force Novus to immediately back. Out of My Game looking complete, looking composed, and looking solid as all the way it goes from left to right, back to right. Everything looking solid for OMG.
They're looking really good now on this double sniper, and Obling still hasn't gotten the value that I'd like to see out of the Tracer. They're doing a really good job, though, of moving around. That's the best part of this double sniper, is whenever they're getting dove on, Progi is always right there. Wayfast always has the grapple shot ready. The Mercy's always there for the pocket. They're just playing this double sniper composition so well, and Novus doesn't seem like they know what to do against it.
Looking for a way to set things up now as they again go high ground for Novus. They've got a lot of boost, but Progi gets himself nano boosted behind a dragon to try to separate, and that might be enough to keep as the focus and priority for Out of My Game. EMP does come down for the big one, though, finding 3 targets. Obbling, he hasn't had the biggest of impacts on this Tracer yet. We need him to start to set up. He doesn't even have a pulse bomb yet. Still at 88%, trying to chase down the Widow, but he hasn't been able to find the kill yet. So Novus, now finally they're able to find some numbers, but again, Olu's now a stick. Oh, that's absolutely clutch. It's just on to Progi and Twills, and without any support or sustain here, you think that finally in overtime, Novus should be able to lock this one down if they can find the target prioritization. And it looks like Progi will continue to dance around. Lucio trying to get involved as well, but the number is just too strong for Novus. The first tick of progress comes through, the second shortly to follow, and I don't think we're going to find another complete try to set up this defense Out of My Game. 1A finally going the way of Novus.
And their Obling makes up for everything else he'd done, or rather he'd not done in the first couple of parts of that map. He gets the huge stick onto Olu, as we had seen before. Olu, if he's left alive, is able to clutch those fights out. He can't that time when he's stuck. Great play from Obling, and now they're going to be switching more to a 3-3 composition here on point B. Very standard here, and for Out of My Game, it's going to be the same thing.
Nearly a full hold, though. Would have been nice for OMG. Now still have to deal with 3 minutes and some change. Kara looking to get himself involved as well. Again, can you get the big one going? His Zarya, sometimes hot, sometimes cold. A little bit of both so far today, as Luft is going to set on point, looking to start things off. But again, no ultimates for anybody in the game. All 12 players waiting to get themselves started up. Kara now with a sound barrier. Will that be enough for the sustain to get Novus to get on through to B? And it will come through pretty early. No eliminations yet. Again, no other ultimates as well. Looking for a way to set things up. And again, just really good stagger here from Out of My Game. Good poke. They will give up 1 tick as they need to reset to get the health pools back in favor of them. Progi now getting himself involved, chalking him out with a nice little boost onto left to push him into a bad spot. The big one near full charge, though, and getting close to a grab, but will be shut down before he can finally realize that full 100%. And it looks like the defense will finally come through just before the second tick comes in.
And even though they did get that 1 tick up, that was an incredible disengage there from the side of Out of My Game. They were able to know that the sound barrier was coming. They backed up into the corners and said, okay, we can give up this tick. It's totally fine as long as we just don't all die here and get snowballed on. I really love that from Out of My Game. Very good game sense, understanding that a tick is better than just getting rolled all the way through.
But now for the second engagement, Kenobi, we've got essentially even ultimates across the board as the big one and Luft for the side of Novus are very close. We have the self-destruct sequence for Molfig Eclipse with the Transcendence, and again, Wayfast and Progi also very close to some game-changing potentially ultimates for them as well. So where will be the first to execute call? The big one trying to throw out as much damage as possible, but only at 20% of his charge so far. Wayfast on the back right-hand side, you can see him trying to set up for potentially a sideways Graviton surge as well, but again, just a lot of posturing for positioning so far. The defense happy to allow that to happen for now.
And this is going to be based on either a grab getting eaten or a bigger bang combo happening. And there's one grab, and there's the self-destruct to follow.
What, will there be any follow-up? Molfig will find himself one. The self-destruct is good, at least for the numbers advantage for the side of Novus. Can they find anything else in the back end? The shatter comes through, and Luft, he will surely fall. No! A clutch bubble gets put onto him while he was discorded and low. On top of that, the sound barrier from Kara is good, and Novus, they're going to play this one out nicely as they will just clean up the rest of this point to find some more progress, but will it result in a full capture point of B? That's yet to be determined.
And they're going to have a little bit of stall potential. There is the rally coming out from the Brigade. Progi has switched onto the Hamster to try and just stall best he can, but it's just a matter of time, it looks like, for Novus to take this last tick.
And you can see them all in synchronized fashion, just rotating around the point, finding target for target. Novus looking clean and composed all the way through. The Graviton comes out just to secure, and Novus will find themselves capture point B. Round 1 complete, but it wasn't without some concern on that first capture for Novus.
And that's got to be the worst feeling, right? You almost full hold Novus, and then they end up taking the second point with a minute left. That's classic. That's classic assault map, I think. There, I hold shift.
Indeed, it is. Tale as old as time, at least in Overwatch terms.
We're gonna start singing Beauty and the Beast now.
I'm so glad you went there because that was my mind. If you were to be any character from Beauty and the Beast, I feel like you'd be the clock guy.
Oh, okay, but I have like a mean French accent, so I could be the candle.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I don't remember any of their names, by the way.
Yes. See, I do because I'm French and I have to. It's kind of.
Oh, this that's a cultural standard for you. Yeah. Got you. Okay. Good banter, good banter. Out of My Game, though, will be setting themselves up to come back through. And for Novus, setting things up defensively, at least on what they're hovering so far. I mean, again, we've seen a lot of diversity out of the side of Novus. It just seems to come down to what do you pick in the hand of your, the cards that you have in your hand.
And I think for Novus here, they're going to play a little bit more of a bunkery composition here. They're going to be having Luft here on this Orisa. Maybe just park the Hanzo, park the Ashe behind it. Let them get as much damage as possible, because a lot of times when they play Ashe on this map, you're really just trying to use that Dynamite to farm up to Bob and then use that to start to win these fights that are coming out through.
Indeed, indeed. So we're looking at that turtle up strategy. Novus just, again, all 6 players just huddled up for warmth here in Volskaya. I can't count. That's only 4 of the 6, apparently. Out of my game, though, coming out with something a little bit more dive-friendly. Take a look at this. We've got ourselves a Genji opportunity, potentially.
So this is actually kind of classic dive here coming up from out of my game. Besides, Wayfast is on the Sombra instead of the Tracer. Oldham gets really low. That would have been disastrous if he went down that early. And they're going to have to make some decisions here on what they want to do, because a lot of this, if you dive onto Luft here on the high ground, there's just so much damage here. Obling is being pocketed by Kara here with damage. If Progi decides to jump in, he's going to get absolutely melted by this Hanzo.
And just, again, out of my game, just kind of setting themselves up. What do they want to do? Where do they want to go? At the moment, they're a little bit split, and the big one not quite able to connect yet, at least. Twills will come on forward and a little bit of a speed boost right out of my game. They want to get themselves on top of this high ground, try to get the Orisa off of it, but a nice biotic grenade to keep everybody healthy for Novus. That was a first attempt for out of my game. They'll back up, soft reset, and maybe try again as they're immediately underneath. Twills will come up again. Nice follow-up with Progi being there. Olu as well, looking for the damage. They are able to take down Obling, so 6 on 5, but still a lot of targets to go through. The work is nowhere near done yet. A boost onto Olu. He's nowhere near his blade yet, but the damage is appreciated as well as the sustain, and that might just be enough. A couple of easy targets in front of him, looking to get those nice little shurikens going into the face of Ashe. A little bit of a medieval versus, Midwest fight, I guess you could call it. And out of my game, we'll be able to clean things up and find a pretty easy capture point A.
I really like the target selection there coming out from Olu on the Genji. He basically dove up and was trying to get Obling off of that Hanzo off the high ground, and Obling wasn't able to jump down. You saw Big One jumping down, but unfortunately Obling just wasn't able to do so before all the damage came out from Olu. And now going into this next fight, they are going to probably have this EMP Blade combo, a combo that can absolutely shred through this defense.
But can they get the boost back in time? Only 30% for cost so far. So again, out of my game has been playing so patiently when it comes to their attacks, and it's been working out well. The discipline obviously appreciated, as we are still tied up 1-1, but a lot of time to play with Wayfast, just walking his way up and around. He's got an EMP, he's got all the support line in front of him. Bob comes out. Oh, what a sleep! Are you kidding me? Olu's going in with the blade. He finds himself one, but at what cost? Oh my goodness, Eclipse. We've sang your praises before. How about putting it on display? Oh my!
I actually. What? That was like that was the frame perfect sleep right there. If he's like a second ahead or a second behind, he does not hit that. Eclipse is an absolute madman. Oh my god. I'm shook.
Oh my goodness. What a play. And again, the EMP not there. So out of my game, we'll switch on their offense. Talk about your good old-fashioned thwarting power. And now it's just up to Progi. Primal Rage also bubbled. A good biotic grenade, so not over to this yet. Out of my game still has a lot to use for it, although we are seeing a slept Diva on the high ground. Molfix still has a self-destruct sequence. Progi, the Primal Rage is extended all the way through. What do you use from here? It comes down to, can they even break anything open? Progi's gonna dive on in, but again, they need to find some extra damage from somewhere. Ola will take down Kara. Now the sound barrier for the extra sustain is appreciated for out of my game. They still need to break through so much stalwart defense though. And look at this shield from Love, just absolutely soaking up everything, allowing the time for his team to come back. Wayfast not even close to the Graviton Surge yet. We'll try to find the damage, and he is able to take down the big one, and a nice charge on the back end of that. It looks like out of my game with the numbers very well could find some success here on B, Kenobi.
And Olu there actually was the savior right there, because Wayfast was being charged and he stunned the Reinhardt out of the charge. Wayfast would have 100% died if that charge had gone through, and now they're taking these ticks. Wayfast is gonna have this grab in the next fight as well.
And we're close to that third tick. One more good little surge will be enough. Love falls, no way to get the Earth Shatter down. Graviton Surge locking in the big one. He'll respond with one of his own, but it's a mere informality at this point, and we will see the Winston going into the Primal Rage. Wayfast completely boosted up, near full charge. That is so much damage to deal with. Wolfig trying to dance as much as he can on the wrecking ball. Goodness, actually, look at this. Novus is going to sustain this somehow. And what? How do you let that fall out of your reach out of my game? It's not able to find the target prioritization on the stall. Novus will hold it.
Yeah, they went back to deal with the people in the back line, the Brigitte, who was very low, and Progi as well, who had come back on that, or had come back on that, not Progi, rather, Luft, who had come back on that hamster, but wow, that was really not the greatest target selection. You just stay on that point and try and sustain instead of going for the kills in the back line, and now you wasted a lot of time.
Self-destruct will try to throw things back out, and oh my goodness, Oblate gets caught by it. Luft is also falling low. Again, a second fight with no Earthshatter from Novus. Okay, out of my game. You just need to put this one down. We thought you would have had it in the first push, but the second one will prove worthy enough for it. The capture percentage starting to tick up as everyone has been finished, and out of my game will finish with plenty of time on the clock as well.
Out of my game, there was like, yeah, no, let's just make it a little bit closer. You know, we want to play one more round of this defense, and their Tool's really actually coming in clutch. He hits the huge bomb and then gets the 2 kills to follow up and splits the team by himself with those boosters. Really good play from Tools, and they're rewarded with the 3-minute time bank. And you know, still though, for the red team, or for Novus rather, it's good that they sustained or they stalled for that long, because it looked like it probably could have been a 5-minute take, a 4-minute take, but 3 minutes, you'll take that a little bit. 2 minutes is basically 3 or 4 fights if you're lucky. So I think it was still a good stall from Novus, and now they have to really think about what they want to do next.
With the 2-minute differential, you have to think from the perspective of out of my game. That's time to try something cheeky and then switch to something more, you know, standard, I guess you would say, for the second round through. So, I mean, definitely advantage, obviously, tilting in favor of out of my game. Thank you for the John Madden commentary there, Shift. But Novus will start things off first, and for them, I think they're pretty much left to only do one thing. You have to figure Goats is going to come out the gate here.
Yeah, that's what they probably need to do that. They only have a minute left, or well, not minute, but out of my game has 3 minutes. They can definitely go Goats here. It looks like they're going to try and go the version with the Sombra Wayfast. We saw in that last map how good Wayfast was being with those with those EMPs, how much he was farming them, how he's getting into the back line. And with a minute left, he is going to have the opportunity to try and get it, but the best thing he's going to be doing here is stalling Novus. That's really what you're looking for. You're looking for Wayfast here to try and stall Novus. Hack Eclipse, hack Molfig, hack Luft, one of the tanks, and try and get them to not just basically dive in by themselves, because 55 seconds, 1 or 2 fights probably at most.
Yeah, there's subtle advantages when it comes to being able to get a hack off successfully for the side of out of my game. Okay. I mean, they're setting up something.
They're wasting a lot of time.
A lot of time. That's what I was about to say.
This is one fight now. This is it. This is the only fight they get.
It's just for Eclipse to switch to the Zenyatta. So you have to have full value here. Out of my game, probably considering an already 23% for Wayfast to an EMP. It's not out of the realm of possibility for him to farm a very aggressive EMP if this fight does end up staying in effect for a lot longer than I think that Novus would want it to. Now looking to start things off. Again, the big one a little bit further back than you'd like to see. Not even near close full charge. And he's again that big damage dealer. Able to find 1 tick of progress. Very well found. And they find a kill, 2 into Progi. Oh my goodness, all of a sudden Novus, they find themselves a second tick. And talk about having a full value push. This is 100% it. Tolls will also fall. Costas boss, no way. And that's going to be the full A very quickly, very clean. Wayfast will get a couple extra shots in just to try to get closer to that EMP, but one more go potentially at checkpoint B.
That was still very smart from Novus switching over to this Goats composition. This Goats composition rolls over this Sombra Goats coming out from out of my game, and now they got the pick on the Progi. That's huge.
Oh my goodness, and the EMP is almost there for Wayfast. You have to think for out of my game, they need something to find at least 4, if not more. Yes, he is, and again, progress starting to
shatter,
and the shatter just on the cost alone. Everything falling apart for out of my game. The EMP is there, but so what? We've got a Transcendence that is able to survive through it. The sustain is good. Now we're seeing the Graviton surge in desperation for out of my game, but they just do not have the follow-up. Holy smokes, Novus. Talk about your good old-fashioned breakdowns on control. They will find themselves at least a second tick, likely a third, as it's going to be a staggered push coming out of the gate from out of my game, and no one's going to even touch in time. OMG, not able to put up a defense. Novus right back in this set.
Novus played that so perfectly. We were worried a little bit at the start when they went back to make the full swap onto full Goats, but it was such a good idea. They saw that there was the Sombra, and they said, okay, well, Sombra isn't going to give you as much value if we just run at your team. It's basically a 5v6. Sombra can't deal damage through all the sustain and all the shielding coming out from a full Goats composition, and then they hard-targeted Proga at the end of the last fight. They went in, a lot of good ultimates. Really, the key at the end was that EMP came out and Eclipse was not in the way of it. He was able to dodge and sidestep and then tranced. All the damage was mitigated that was coming out from any of the follow-up coming out from the EMP. Fantastic inch-perfect play coming out from Novus.
And Novus, talk about being clutch. I mean, again, you're looking at a 2-minute differential. You give yourself essentially 30 seconds for both points, and you end up able to capitalize on both. So doing exactly what they needed to do, and then some for Novus. Now for out of my game. They've got, again, like we mentioned, maybe some time to play with here on offense if they want to try something sneaky, but you have to take a look at the fact that the scoreboard will still read 2-4, and you want to try to get this as comfortably as possible and give yourself potentially time to go into the third round to secure this map. A lot of considerations here for Out of My Game.
And it looks like for Out of My Game, they're going to run the same comp that they ran at the start of the last time, at the start of the defense rather, or on their that they're going to run. They're going to run this way fast here on the Sombra again. We saw it in the last map. It didn't really work out as well for them, but now they have 3 minutes to try and farm with this EMP, so they have a lot of time to work with to try and push through all the way through this point.
And for Novus, Eclipse will come out again on the Moira, at least to start off. And we talked about this from brief mention when it talks to the EU and how they look at Moira as being high up there in the support viability list, and we're seeing that come to fruition. I'm sure we'll talk about that more when Panda comes back with us, but we'll see how this one is approached from Out of My Game. Just get nice and calmly. Again, the discipline and the patience for Out of My Game has been pretty supreme so far. The big one will try to lock down the right-hand side, throwing out a couple of particles here and there, and already up to about 60% charge, and getting closer and closer to that 100% mark where that damage becomes so hard to deal with. But oh goodness, pushed out of position for a small second was left. A lot of cooldowns used just to keep him alive, and first blood does happen coming to Obling. Luft also falling. Out of My Game looking to set this one up very clean and calmly again. No one really even all that much danger healthful wise. This is going to be pretty much a full team wipe coming out, and Out of My Game should surely get checkpoint A as soon as they find the last couple of kills.
And the best part here is they're going to have 2 minutes about to try and get this last point, whereas Novus, on the other hand, only had that one fight at the end. So Out of My Game can maybe take a fight here, farm up some more ultimates, maybe get way fast towards that Graviton, and then you can maybe use the combo at the end. Or Progi can just hit a massive shatter out of the way, and then they can just win this fight with time to spare.
Way fast, looking to get up a little bit aggressively. We'll reconsider when he saw how many people were looking right down on him with the stink eye. Now coming around with the rally, looking to push on forward. A lot of extra health boost and, of course, the speed well appreciated. But, oh, goodness, Left wanted to drop an Earth Shatter. He only found his counterpart in Progi, and he gets taken down immediately. A big counter shatter. No shields in the way. We'll take that one to go. Thank you very much. First tick of progress comes through, no problem. It's just Molfig who's here kind of waiting to touch the point in the last second. He'll get there, but oh my goodness, he'll immediately get taken down. There will be the self-destruct sequence, but there's nothing to deal with it on the back end of it. It will be just be Out of My Game, cleaning up the stagger. The Desperation may ice block on point. The big one will be the focus target, though, while that happens, and that ice cube will surely melt afterwards. Out of My Game, very clean, meeting the 4-4 of their own. As soon as they're able to clean up, Novus not able to do anything in staggered fashion. Drawn 4-4, Kenobi.
So we are going to go to this next point here, and we are going to have one last shot here for the side of Out of My Game. They're going to get 1 minute 24 seconds, so a good stall here coming out from Novus, and they really just need this one tick on the first point. That's really all they need. I expect them to try and just go goats and just try and run through whatever Novus is going to bring to the table, but Novus here might need to pull out something tricky from their hat, something we haven't seen before. That's what I'm expecting from them.
Yeah, Out of My Game, you think if you just even go one composition like Goats, you have at least 2 goes at it, and by the second one, you figure you're going to get most of those ultimates ready to play with. So, Novus, what do you come out of spawn with? We've seen them run this Orisa kind of stationary comp, and the big one offering up some potential big plays. Hold down the LM as you already possibly have this Bastion gameplay coming through.
And this is what I'm talking about, bringing out something interesting. I mean, 1 minute and 24 seconds, if you're able to milk a lot of clock from Out of My Game, you know, if they come out on this composition that they're showing right now, they're going to get absolutely melted. So this kind of forces them to make some decisions, decide, do we need to go back and switch to Goats? Can we just continue to run this, maybe try and get a hack onto the Bastion? But the Bastion is going to be behind the shield from left, I assume. So I'm going to be interested to see how Out of My Games deal with this. With 1 minute, 24 seconds, they're not going to have a lot of time.
Indeed. A one-trick defense going up against Out of My Game, who will have time to react to what they're being offered to break. And right out of the gate, it will be Olu using the Genji, another Genji Sombra dive. It was successful for them the first time around. Koss will switch over to the Ana, and we've got ourselves an opportunity for the offense to make their first go. Again, just a minute to play with and a little bit of change on top. Obling with the Sonic Arrow, we'll see.
Oh, he's hiding.
They're hiding the Bastion pick. Do they even know that he's here? Is the real question. Obling actually
that's
a
a huge
headshot pick on Olu, and that's absolutely massive, like you mentioned, the 6-on-5, but the bigger thing is the fact that the time on the clock continues to drain, and for Out of My Game, now you're looking at potentially only 1 hit at this point.
Yeah, they know that the Bastion's here on the field, because I assume they hit tab, but they don't know where he is. That's the most important thing, is they don't know where to dive onto the Bastion. They're hiding him so well from the enemy team, and 30 seconds left. This is last fight here for Out of My Game. They need to make something happen with this dive.
Lunging away is Obling right behind the shield, and you can see the damage boosted big one on the Bastion, and goodness gracious, again, just waiting biding their time so long is out of my game. When is the hit going to happen? Where will it happen? Who will it happen on? And now finally onto the high ground, right behind the Arista, trying to get into the face of the big one, but he's getting so much sustain. He's able to just hold that left click down and try to find the damage, but no targets falling. Now finally able to take down Progi. And again, Olu is down, so there will be no blade, at least not in this attack. And the Dig One has a bunch of free targets in front of him. This is looking like a draw scenario. No one's really gonna be able to get back in time, I don't think. There is only one other player here trying to touch for as long as possible, and that's way fast. He gets slapped. The long distance sleep, and the overtime will fade away, and wow, a very unclimactic end to that draw, but that's exactly what you want for Novus. That's best case scenario for you.
That huge best case scenario, and I need to hear Panda talk about Eclipse, because I'm pretty sure Eclipse is, you know what, I'm gonna say it. Eclipse is basically carrying Nas right now with how he's playing on this Ana. Sleep after sleep. We saw the EMP. We saw him dodge EMPs twice with the Transcendence. I mean, he's been absolutely playing out of his mind so far.
Panda, what do you have to say about it? It's all you, my man.
I'm gonna raise you up one support, and I'm gonna say that his Zenyatta actually carried that entire attack. Every single time that Wayfast was in the backline de-stealthing, you know why he was so slow to that charge on the EMP for the defense? Because every time that he's de-stealth, Eclipse hit Discord, headshot, 75 HP just gone because 35% extra damage from the Discord orb. Eclipse, I think, absolutely helping in a carry potential. We always make the joke that Zenyatta is basically the only DPS in the triple tank, triple support composition. But you know what's even better about that too? It's just that sleep dart. I mean, you can't say that enough, man. That sleep dart was absolutely insanity. And not
frame perfect.
It was frame 1. Actually, it was great. You know what was great even more so was the bigger brain plays that come through from Novus towards the end too. You can try to showcase a treehouse bunker composition. The attacking team's going to come in. They're going to see the bunker set up on top of the mini pack where you would assume the Bastion would be. Olu was just kind of scouting. He's like, "Where's the Omnic? Where am I supposed to where am I supposed to go? Where am I supposed to go?" And he got instantly headshot. And it was actually some of the best macro play I've ever seen on a Bastion treehouse strategy, just from hiding on a wall. You said it during your cast, Kenobi. They were looking. I mean, sure, both of you said it. In fact, they could press tab and they were going to be able to see that they had a Bastion on that composition, but where was he?
Yeah. Need a GPS to lock him down as far as directionally where to
metal
hit.
detector. Metal detector.
Yeah, that's even better. But like the bigger thing is the fact that like I think that, you know, we could hit that point. We could say, yeah, sure, that sounds correct. But you see Olu drops 3 times in a row on Genji, again, trying to find the Bastion. So I mean, talk about where that impacts in these small little moments do again end up becoming catastrophic things, and you have to think there was a big missed opportunity there for Out of My Game.
Yeah, Out of My Game was able to walk forward and to get to the final attack there, just off of a snowball potential. We got to see Progi really shine through. I mean, this is why this man has always been talked about for his Reinhardt. He's consistent, if you will. Like once you can tell Progi is on just by the way that he's playing. The shield management, amazing, all the way to just knowing that he has the resources and the health pool advantage to press forward and to find those shatters. That is just the next level of Reinhardt play. But when you're facing against a team like Novus that has such a strong support line like that, you're gonna need a little bit more.
Indeed you will, and a little bit more is all we'll get because we are drawn up in maps 1-1 after the draw, so it will come down to just map 4. Who will come out victorious? The escort will tell the tale. We'll be back to see how this chapter concludes right after this break. Welcome back, friends and family. I hold shit with Kenobi. We've got map 4. This will be the locale of our deciding of who is the winner, who is the loser. And again, every match so important, Kenobi. Again, 2 will go into contenders, but it's all off of round robin. So map count matter, but of course, match wins and losses. Doesn't matter how early or late you get them. You want them every single time you hit the field.
Yeah, and especially with only 2 teams out of 8 making it through, if you lose one map, you're kind of teetering on that edge of basically already out. And if you lose 2 maps, it's basically a death sentence, right? So this is very important, especially it all comes down to this one map, which team is going to come out on top. And it's been even so far between a lot of these plays. You know, we've seen Progi pop off sometimes. We've seen Luft pop up sometimes. We've also seen them make mistakes. It's just a scrappy fight between these 2 teams, and it all comes down to this Rialto map.
It does. Again, if you're just joining us, 1-1 the map tie after Volskaya would also draw up. So it comes down to Escort, as it sometimes does, and it will come down in dramatic fashion here on Rialto. Out of my game will set up their defense first. It looks like we'll be seeing a pharmacy with way fast on the Widow. I'd like to see it.
And big one is actually going to be on Widow as well. So we're going to see a Widow v Widow duel, and we're going to see the pharmacy. Pharah does have is very good on this map because you have a lot of buildings to hide behind. You have an infinite skybox as well. Look out though for big one to try and deal and put pressure onto Olu. That's really what they're going to need to try and make sure this Pharah doesn't get as much value.
Oh, Progi's just saying, let's go forward. Let's not let anyone set up for free. We'll just jump right on back though, as he was poked out, and now Novus, a lot of free real estate here. It just comes down to when does the defense decide to dive on in. You can already hear sniper shots raining from left and right. Olu, with the damage boost, will find himself some significant damage on the right-hand side prospectively. Again, no targets really to hit for either team as the snipers just continue to contest with one another from a distance. Now, finally, both Winstons will get involved.
What
in
a
the big
shot!
One. Will hit a nice corner headshot, but Chalky Milk will get the res and will actually survive as well. And all of a sudden, it looks like Molfig is in a tough spot. Will be demet. The big one also gets poked away. So Novus in a little bit of trouble, even though they have a couple of kills. They're also low themselves, and way fast with another headshot onto Eclipse. All of a sudden, out of my game, they will be able to find themselves up in the number department. And this comes down to, can they set themselves up to get this payload in their control?
And I was ready to say that it was such a great play here from from Novus here, hitting that headshot onto the pharmacy and then dive, the perfect dive. They got both of the pharmacies out, and then, but unfortunately, way fast, you're still on this Widow, hits that huge headshot onto Eclipse. Big plays coming out from him.
Luft getting aggressive into the backline, but he's just found himself a diva, and he will be picked apart as Olu had some significant damage, and Wayfast will clean up. And again, out of my game, setting themselves up defensively very nicely. Molfig will find one, but a res actually comes through for Kara. Now, all of a sudden, what else? The EMP for Novus using a lot of resources here as things are coming down very, very quickly, and Molfig will actually take down Progi. So all of a sudden, will have to be a solid start defensive for Out of My Game. The reses are good, the kills are good, and Out of My Game in a little bit of trouble here defensively. Looks like stage 1 will be pushed through.
Yeah, I'm not sure where Chalky Milk there was. Olu went down very early in that fight, and that shouldn't really be happening if you have that Mercy with you, especially against a Diva that doesn't do that much damage, and you have that Discord on you. But Olu's coming back with this barrage now. They do take that first tick, so that's really good for Novus.
And for me, it comes down to, will Out of My Game kind of take the ego chow here? They've got a lot of ultimates to use. Will they come out forward? The barrage rains down, but finds absolutely nothing. Olu has to back up on the self-destruct sequence. 8-ball corner pocket, not quite. Swoll's now trying to make his way back in. As you can see, it is Luft in the Primal Rage. He was in the backline, will jump across the river. Now it's up to who else can find the damage. There is a lot of offers on the table, but no one's finding any eliminations, and now it's just the Winstons resetting themselves in front of the payload as they start to electrify each other. The EMP does come out, though, for Novus, and that will lead to our first eliminations and a DMEC. It looks like Novus will be able to win this fight out, but Out of My Game not going away yet. Kenobi, a lot of pressure, but it comes at a pretty steep cost, as it will be a cleanup coming from Novus. It's just down to Wayfast, and he'll fall immediately after a full team wipe for our team in red.
And that EMP from Obling was very, very clutch here. He got the Pharah out of the sky, which is the most important part of Out of My Game's comp that they were using. You get Olu out of the sky, you lose a lot of that damage, and then you're able to clean up. And now it looks like they're making wholesale swaps between these two teams, going back to GOATs, respectively. Out of My Game is going to be using the Ana still, whereas Novus is keeping on their Zenyatta.
Setting themselves up in the underpass. Olu just flailing away. Haas with another biotic grenade, but not able to find much. Molfig will find the first kill. The boost also coming out into Progi. Can he set himself up? No shatter yet, but very close. Now he has it. Will he pull the trigger on this defense? They're low on numbers, and now it just has to back up. The boost fades away. Biotic grenade not enough to obviously keep him alive, and Novus will roll through that underpass and look for the second checkpoint quickly.
Yeah, here I would actually like to see Kaz maybe switch back over to the Zenyatta, take the 1v1 because Discord Orb is so important here. And Progi is having, there you go. He's going to switch back over because Luft is having a very rough time here. Progi here was having a very rough time on that Reinhardt with the Discord just permanently on him.
Oh, looking for the sound wave into Luft's Earth Shatter, but it's actually the response from Progi that's good. But Molfig again with these self-destructs. He's been so consistent with it, able to take out his counterpart in 12s. The numbers favoring the offense again, and the attackers will reign supreme in their third straight team fight as soon as they find the Zarya. Very quickly falls down, and look at this, 80% charge, and the big one wants to get aggressive, maybe find a little bit extra damage and find that extra charge. Could they find an elimination as well? Olu gets booped back. All of a sudden, snowball potential for Novus.
Novus has all the momentum right now, and if the big one gets this Graviton before Koss or Chalky Milk get their Sound Barrier or Transcendence, it's going to be disastrous for Out of My Game. They need to get these support ultimates before big one gets his grab.
My goodness gracious, Novus. A lot of time on the clock and a lot of tools in this shed as well, but Out of My Game wants to get aggressive. We'll use the amp it up, and it's a nice charge onto Progi. Luft starting to tie up team fight off nicely for Novus. It just comes down to will they clean this all completely up. A lot of fists in the kill feed as it looks to be a little bit more of a melee brawl. And Novus, they will reign supreme once again with another straight team fight. Still 2 minutes plus, or pardon me, almost 3 minutes as they will try to push on through for the clean 3 round.
Supportal combat coming in here and way fast with this grab. He has to be huge with it. It looks like actually Nas is going to back off. I really like this. They're not standing on ceremony. They're not just going to get baited onto this card. They're going to wait for all of their members back and all their cooldowns. It's eaten by Molfig!
All that patience that we were praising Out of My Game for now swings in favor of Novus. It comes down to can they clean up the rest of this fight though? They've lost their Brigitte. The rally comes out for Out of My Game. They have to commit, but Progi is down. The Transcendence could have been used for cost, but doesn't end up pulling the trigger on it. Way fast, already 75% to another Graviton Surge, and Olu comes in clutch, able to clean up the rest of that front line. But goodness, it was close, and Novus had win condition in their sights, but Out of My Game too resilient.
And Molfig is already 85% to another grab. He just grabbed in that last fight. He says, I don't need a grab. I'm just going to put you all in the microwave. I'm so high charge right now. He's going to get it right now again. And again, with these support ultimates that they don't have on the side of Nas here, there is this big one. Again, has to be huge. He's kept on this grab for 2 lives already. He needs to hit this one.
And again, you don't need to be too aggressive. Find your time. Doesn't have to be the biggest ultimate ever, but it has to be effective. Such a tough point to break. Coming on through. Shield's taking a lot of damage. And almost big one. You see the Graviton Surge now coming out. It is a self-destructive sequence right behind, but a little bit off kilter from Molfig. Earth Shatter finds himself at least 4 with the Transcendence from OMG. Able to keep most of the players alive, although Progi will meet his fate and meet his maker in the respawn. And now it's just up to Novus. Can they find anything else? Luft also meets the same fate as his counterpart in the Reinhardt department. And now Koss. What else? The Discord Orb is going to be enough to push back Novus for now. With one more player left behind, that was Eclipse, and he will be taken down. So again, another nice staggered defense for OMG.
Heart in mouth there for Novus. It looked really bad at the start of the fight, but they were able to keep their composure. And way fast, again, already 60% to another Graviton. He's been farming these so fast and so quickly that it's basically a cooldown ability for him shifting. Unfortunately, the supports aren't keeping up with his ultimate charge, and he's just getting free grab after free grab. He's absolutely playing out of his mind right now on the Zarya.
Progi does have an Earth Shatter as well. Koss falls very early as the big one's able to find the kill. It's going to be nothing but catastrophic. But Progi again with another nice Earth Shatter. He'll try to charge on through, but the Transcendence is there for Eclipse. Novus desperately wants this team fight, using everything on it. Way fast has another grab, and he's going to find everybody with it, but is there enough damage?
Oh my god.
Progi, the frontliners coming in clutch. And it looks like this very well could hold. We still have a Transcendence for OMG and Novus. They're going to be left just reeling to get back to this payload.
They're going to have to try and transfer. They probably are not going. They're not going to get back onto this point. 10 seconds left. They have to use everything to try and get back. Get down the speed characters. Just try your best. 5-second shift. It's going to be close.
One more go at it. It looks like they will just barely be able to touch it. Well, they should be able to. The Graviton, it comes, or the self-destruct is there. The overtime in effect, though. Novus is there, and they have taken care of Olu, but at the cost of their Reinhardt. Eclipse also falls to Transcendence. Too good for Out of My Game. That's the one defensive ultimate they needed. Another Graviton Surge here. Self-destruct sequence could be big. Able to find at least one. Not over yet. Novus still with an opportunity to push. Progi also very low. If they can find the Reinhardt, it would be clutch, and they're able to take him down. So all of a sudden,
Sound barrier?
Sound barrier coming through. Shatter! The Shatter's big. All of a sudden, Novus in overtime. An opportunity starts to brew, but it's not before the respawns come through. Novus, they need to stay alive. You need all 6 players. No! pushed away by the thrust from the D.Va. Oh boy, Novus, they gave themselves a go. But out of my game, too resilient, too patient, able to keep themselves on the defense just with 2 points on the scoreboard.
Olu at the end there got stunned, or Olu stunned rather Molfig out of his mech there. That was absolutely huge because he would have had that 600 health bar to try and continue to sustain, but they just didn't make it. That was so unfortunate. Oh my goodness, that was clutch from Olu.
Oh, goodness gracious. And you talk about the D.Va push. It was just Luff that was there. The sound wave pushed a lot of Novus back for the back line and just a really good thrust forward to keep Luff off the point. So not exactly what I would call a letter number exactly, but a really good defense is more what I'm seeing out of this one. And now OMG, with opportunity, if they can finish the map, they will take themselves up in the round robin with that big number 1 in the win column. Novus have to have a solid defense.
And it looks like I think they're just going to stick to what they know. I don't know what Out of My Game is really doing here. I don't think that's... I'm just going to take that part of the screen away for now, and I'm just going to focus on what Novus is bringing. They're bringing out the GOATS variation with the Moira here. They're going to try and just have a lot of sustain, milk as much time off the clock as possible. That's really what Moira GOATS is good at. You have so much sustain from the Orbs of Healing and just from the Moira right-click there. It's just really good to just make fights last very long. And with a win condition available for Out of My Game to just take it all the way, milking as much time as possible off the clock is the best thing that they can do.
And maybe a consideration here, Novus, do you try to set up a little aggressively? Do you try to play cheeky? It looks like, yes, they do want to do it. Yes. They're going to dive right on in. And goodness, talk about your high-risk, high-reward plays. Luff will be right up front with that shield. The big one immediately behind with the damage for supporting it. Nice little defense matrix to block any damage coming out of my game, who are looking to posture themselves on the high ground, diving right on in, and oh my goodness, Novus is a little bit split. They finally come back together, but they're stuck in a corner. This is exactly where you want them to be. If you're Out of My Game, you can just keep poking at this. Twills will dive on in to try to separate some players with the thrust. The payload starts to move. No eliminations yet, but a lot of damage favors that of Out of My Game. That they can find one frontliner or one support. Things could snowball very quickly for OMG, but a lot of time is being soaked off the clock for Novus. A very early shatter, but it finds
another one!
Oh, but Out of My Game! Oh my goodness, Progi able to find a shatter enough to take down 2. Disaster for Novus. All of a sudden, Progi slaps through another, wants to try to push over one more. The Coalescence is used for some reason for Eclipse. Not 100% sure. I'm guessing he's probably going to switch off the respawn, but a very good play to posture for positioning, going from high to low for Out of My Game.
So you did take a minute here for, off of the clock if you're Novice, but you gave up so much ult charge. So much. They have the Graviton, they have the Transcendence as well. Big one not even close to his 70%, and now Wayfast is going to be able to use this Graviton and probably just take him through this first point.
He's got a free angle. He's going to use it, and it finds absolutely everybody. Olu will clean up. The cheeky play is good, and goodness gracious, Out of My Game. Talk about coming in big. This first stage has been done and dusted, and we're going to be moving on to stage 2 with a lot of time in the bank for Out of My Game.
That self-destruct probably wasn't necessary from Tools. I'm just going to go ahead and say I think they melted them pretty well enough with the ultimates that they had. They're going to try and recontest here, and that's actually what you really need to do. Try and contest. You have GOATs still, and maybe try and use the sound barrier to milk up as much time as possible.
And all of a sudden, Novus put themselves in a position. I thought for sure this payload was going to move fast enough to get there, so missed call from me. I apologize, but Progi with a nice shatter, the sound barrier in response, and Luft is actually able to find a little bit of a charge, but again, it's the big one falling first. Now the sound barrier for Novus. They desperately want this defense. The Transcendence as well being utilized. All the support ultimates coming through for Novus, but there's no elimination as Progi is able to take down his counter before he falls. And now it's Out of My Game with the damage in hand. Wayfast is the one that needs to pop, but it's Tools that shows up in the kill feed. And now finally, it will be the first stage going the way of Out of My Game with 4 minutes and change to play with.
Oh, and I love how aggressive they're being. They're getting the close spawns as well. These are going to be huge staggers and huge ult charge coming out for the side of Out of My Game. Great aggressive play there. And Novice, while you did stall for a little bit, 3 minutes and 50 seconds is still a lot. Rialto is the shortest map in the game, so they still have a lot of time to try and just make it through this point. And with how fast Wayfast has been charging his grabs, I wouldn't be surprised if he had one for the next fight.
How fast would you say Wayfast charges his ult? Would you say it's at super speed, or would you say it's way fast?
Supersonic speed.
Easy wordplay. I'm terrible. Just don't even bother. The big one, though, has the Graviton surging. He wants to get aggressive, but has to be mindful. Again, he's had a couple of his grabs eaten so far, and that's the last thing you want to see. Twills will start things off with a self-destruct, and it will be able to find luck from all people somehow, some way. So Out of My Game with the numbers, and now more so as a 6-on-4 starts to develop in this underpass. and with that comes a little bit of a team wipe just in the back end. Out of my game looking absolutely solid on the offense so far.
Yeah, Big One still has not used this grab, and it's been a theme, actually. He's been dying with grab a lot and not using it proactively. He's been keeping it for the perfect grab. Sometimes you just need to throw out that grab and get at least one person to pick. If you get, let's say, the Reinhardt, the Brigitte, that's still enough for you to try and just continue to go that through. Wayfast already has another grab in the time that it's taken Big One to use one.
Very fast again with the Graviton Surge. We'll just throw it in front of Luff's shield, and that might just be enough, as Luff did drop in Earth Shatter. Progi finds the first kill. Sound Barrier used right as the Graviton for Novus comes down, and now a Transcendence as well. Not enough sustain, though, to keep up the front line of Wayfast and Chalky Melt, so all of a sudden Novus with an opportunity, but again, they don't have a Reinhardt here as Luff has fallen.
Big Shatter!
Big again for Progi. He'll put the charge onto Eclipse into that little planner just beyond the payload, and this should surely be stage 2 being completed, and again, so much time to play with. OMG just looked to be absolutely outclassing Novus late in the series.
Yeah, Progi shows up a lot on the kill feed here, but a lot of this was because of Olu. Olu was doing such a good job of sustaining himself and the Reinhardt throughout that last fight, using that Inspire healing best he could, and then getting some kills along the way as well. Brigitte, as we know, if they're on a squishy, that squishy most likely is going to die. And now, 3 minutes and 20 seconds, this is a lot of time for Out of My Game. They can play this patiently. They can get some ults out of Novus and try and just use their ultimate advantage to win this next fight.
And again, they don't even necessarily need to go all the way the distance for the third, but it's essentially the same thing. You win that one team fight indoors, you're going to find yourself the full completion of the map. Self-destruct just a little bit wide. Progi.
Oh, he shattered!
By the fire trick, and the Luft, and no, Luft again. He's missed a couple of Earth Shatters, that one included. The Transcendence will be used just to keep everyone healthy while OMG pushes forward, and that's a very clean win. Again, on the back end of Luft, not finding value out of the Earth Shatter. And so OMG, again, will just start to roll on forward, looking to put this set away and give themselves that first win in Contenders Trials.
Out of My Game has been picking apart Luff the entire series, and especially this map. Every time he's a little bit over aggressive, they pounce on him, segregate him from the enemy team, and they're forcing out even Shatters when he doesn't even need to. He's just so desperate because he has been getting bullied this entire time.
Progi again with another Earth Shatter, doesn't even need it. As Dwolz keeps a big one before he falls. The self-destruct not going to find anything. The Earth Shatter only finds one, but that's Obling. That's total value if you're looking at it from OMG's perspective. The numbers favor our team wearing the blue trunks, and it looks like this will be all but done as soon as they can find Mulfig out of this mech, which they will do so successfully, and it looks like that'll do it. OMG will meet the distance that Novus were able to push the payload, and it will be Out of My Game saying their namesake to Novus and taking the W for the first round robin win in this Contenders Trial Series.
And I think what you saw this map was a lot of differentiation between the Zarya play and just how good and how impactful Zaryas can be if they're playing like Wayfast was. Wayfast farming grab basically every other fight, having it as a cooldown ability, like I said, whereas Big One holding on to is not using it proactively. And the one time he did use it in that map, guess what? It got eaten. So he just wasn't getting the value that Wayfast was getting. Grabs need to be used proactively. You need to keep using them in those good moments. Even getting one or two. We saw sometimes for Wayfast, he wasn't hitting these 5-man grabs. He was hitting the people that he needed. 2-man grabs, 3-man grabs. So I think that's something that I would like to see a little bit more of from the Big One, is just not going for the money grab every single time, but rather using it more proactively and using it in a way that maybe they're not going to be able to read, because there, Novus was like, okay, or there rather, Out of My Game was like, okay, well, Big One still has grab. We know when he's going to use it. It's just an easy read at this point.
Yeah, and on top of that, Panda, as we bring you back into the conversation, it's not just the Zarya in my book, it's also the Reinhardt differential, especially in that second push. It just looked to be the Progi show all over the place.
You can even take that one step further, and it's just that well-oiled machine that Out of My Game we're presenting here, right? The amount of resources that were sparingly being used in between Wayfast and Progi, it was unsettling. I'm not gonna lie. Like it was disgusting. Fantastic play coming out of the team for Out of My Game and making a statement here, taking the series 2-1 against Novus, the Open Division champions, of course, who are no slouches. That is a very good team. They have a lot of good members on their roster. But Kenobi, you said it wonderfully. I mean, like you can't always go for those money grabs. If you look for those 6-man grabs and you get 2 or 3, you're probably going to win the fight. How many chances do you, or how many times do you see a 6-man grab get fully wiped if there's not a self-destruct on the inside, of course? It's only until you find those 2 or 3 key picks that the rest of the team has to volley back towards the spawn. And I just think that that Novus just need to take a page out of what you just said. I mean, like that, and take a page out of My Game's book, so that way they can really use the resources more sparingly. You can't just always rely on Eclipse to land all these nutty sleeps, orbs of destruction, and all of that sorts too. But I want to go back all the way to how this actually happened. This actually happened right out of the spawn gates too, because if you remember, OMG, they came out of the gates on the same composition with the Zen Goats, but Novus started off with Moira, right? So would you start off with Moira and you're trying to go for that very early spawn advantage, you actually elongate the fight for too long. You give too many resources over to the attacking team that even if you get those 3 contests like you want on point A Rialto, regardless of the fact it's so much overcharge that they are just chewing from, that you are just over sustaining your tanks. And if you're way fast, he says, yeah, that sounds pretty delicious. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so moving forward, I mean, for both of you guys, we'll start with Kenobi. I mean, things that look the most solid for Outta game as far as like their breach of success in the future, and for Novus, where are your biggest things to improve upon?
For Outta game, I think they need to. I think really you play through way fast, and we saw it throughout the entire series, like how good he was, and also Progi as well. Definitely no slouch in his own right, but way fast there. If Goats meta continues like this, and you need this kind of carry potential Zarya, you have this in way fast, and that's very important, right? Having a hyper carry kind of Zarya who again is getting grab very, very quickly instead of the big one who kind of wasn't doing it as much. So I think you definitely play through way fast. You can play through Progi as well. Make sure Progi has help, because there were some times where he was getting caught out, maybe a little rein him back in a bit. He was going in by himself sometimes. So I think if you rein Progi back in, play a little bit more through way fast, that's how I would win. For Novus, I think Luff needs to maybe also do the same thing, rein back a bit, because Luff is getting sectioned out so many times by the enemy team. I always saw him, he's like getting 3v1, 4v1. It's just probably hell for him to play. So I think that's where they need to improve on. But man, I think you have something special in Eclipse here for Novus.
Panda, closing thoughts for you?
I honestly think that Olu was the standout player here, to be composed and to use your armor pack in a sparing format rather than using it when your friendlies are half HP. If the amp is on heal and you already have the Harmony Orb on the main tank, that's where Progi was bouncing. You see 50 HP, 500 HP, 50 HP, 500 HP. It's just cooldown management that we got to see from Outta game that Novus can definitely learn from.
Indeed, well, that will wrap up the third set of the day. We still have more coming your way. Orglis in Hungary taking on the young and the beautiful. How many times have we seen them go through Contenders trials? We'll see it.